Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. Tonight, dangerous heat baking millions as record high temps stifle portions of the country. Extreme conditions stretching from the southeast to the southwest. 86 million Americans seeing temperatures reach into the 90s and 14 million seeing highs into the triple digits. Phoenix reaching a sweltering 113 degrees yesterday, smashing the previous daily record of 111 degrees. At President Trump's town hall in Phoenix, nearly a dozen people waiting in the heat had to be rushed to the hospital. And it's surprising that this even needs to be a reminder, but the Phoenix Fire Department urging people not to hike in life-threatening heat. We're still about 2 weeks out from the official start of summer, but the U.S. is already shattering records. Last month was the hottest May on record and the 12th straight month of record heat. And the high temps will certainly take a toll on your wallet. Extreme heat expected to drive home cooling costs to a 10-year high, with the average U.S. electric bill expected to reach a staggering $719. NBC News correspondent Liz Croyt starts us off tonight.
Coast to coast tonight, scorching triple-digit temperatures from California to Florida. East of Tampa, the city of Winter Haven reaching a rare 102 degrees Thursday. Across the West, 15 million people under a heat dome, bringing blistering conditions to places like Las Vegas, which hit 111, and Phoenix, which reached 113, a daily record in both cities. After Maricopa County saw more than 600 heat-related deaths last year, Phoenix firefighters are now using ice immersion to treat heat stroke patients.
Every fire truck is now equipped with one of these bags, and firefighters say by immediately immersing a patient in ice, it can lower their body temperature by several degrees. Is this a matter of life and death?
Absolutely. The survivability that we're seeing is going through the roof when we can get these patients cooled down before we arrive to the hospital.
Extreme heat expert and Arizona State University professor Melissa Guardaro says the low temps are also concerning. Overnight, Phoenix not dropping below 87 degrees.
It's really a threat to public health at that point because you just don't have an opportunity to cool off.
And it takes a financial toll. Camille Rabani's electricity bill got so high last summer she would keep her thermostat at a stifling 83 degrees to cut down on costs.
We just kind of got to like 83 was manageable. But it's just, at that point, like, tight budget.
All this as NOAA says carbon dioxide is accumulating faster than ever in the atmosphere, acting like a blanket over the Earth and warming the planet. New data released by the EU finds globally the last 12 months have each been the hottest ever on record.
We need to take extreme heat very seriously. People are dying.
And Liz Croyt joins us now from Phoenix, Arizona. Liz, we're just at the start of summer here, and it is this hot already. How is Phoenix preparing residents so they avoid dangers like the heat strokes you mentioned there in your piece?
Yeah, well, Ellison, that ice immersion strategy could potentially be critical this summer. In fact, they were telling us that firefighters were able to save the life of somebody whose body temperature had gotten as high as 112 degrees, and that was able to rapidly lower their body temperature. In addition to that, trails like this one here in Phoenix are closed right now to try to keep people safe. They've also opened up cooling centers, including one that's open 24/7 to give people some relief. Ellison.
Liz Croyt, thank you. And the Southwest getting some relief after today, but the Gulf Coast and Florida remaining hot and humid through the weekend, plus a severe storm risk threatening the plains. So let's get right to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns, who joins us now in studio. Bill, where are you watching as we head into Saturday and Sunday?
I'm impressed with Liz. I mean, she's just standing outside. It's 111 degrees right now where Liz is. I mean, that's hot. Phoenix, they don't keep track of 100-degree days. They keep track of days that are above 110 because they get so many of them. And, yeah, this is 2 in a row now. Vegas hit 110 also currently. Palm Springs is still toasty. El Paso, 105. So you get the idea. Today and yesterday was the peak, and then we're going to slowly cool things off. Almost all of our excessive heat warnings will go away this evening when the sun goes down, and then tomorrow will be a little bit of improvement. And as we head through the weekend, like Sacramento, not bad, upper 80s to near 90. Las Vegas, instead of like 110, we go to 107, then 103, then 102. In Phoenix, we drop slowly 109 and 106. It doesn't get cool in the desert Southwest until the fall or the winter, but at least it's a little more bearable when the sun's not directly on you. And as we look at Saturday, we will still see near record highs in scattered locations locations. Florida's still very hot, the Gulf Coast, but we're not seeing the extreme temperatures like we were. And as we head into Sunday, still very warm and humid from Florida. Tallahassee will be like the heat index. We'll probably feel like 105 to 106, close to that 100-degree record. But you get the idea. It's not the extremes. It's just unrelenting and continuing to be very warm. But the middle of next week does look like some relief. Look at Tallahassee, 89, 90 in New Orleans instead of like the mid-90s. We are tracking some severe weather. This is in areas of Nebraska. We're heading through Kansas, a little sliver there of Oklahoma. Big storms with hail now. Later tonight, we are concerned that we could get some really strong, damaging winds coming down through Nebraska. Watch out, Omaha to Lincoln to Kansas City. Those are the great areas of greatest concern.
All right, Bill Cairns, thank you. Next tonight to some breaking news. NBC News, the first to report that disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein's lawyers have filed to appeal his 2022 criminal convictions in Los Angeles, according to court documents. This coming just weeks after Weinstein's rape conviction was overturned in New York. NBC News entertainment correspondent and the person who broke that story, Chloe Malas, joins us now on set. So, Chloe, I understand you just got off the phone speaking with Harvey Weinstein's attorney. What did he tell you?
Listen, I wanted to talk to his criminal defense attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, because she was the one who had been talking about potentially appealing this. And this is coming just weeks after his New York criminal conviction was overturned. Here's a little bit here's a little bit of what Jennifer told me just moments ago.
Harvey Weinstein's trial was a colossal mess, frankly. The number of errors that occurred, constitutional violations that transpired during the trial, invariably will lead to a new trial, or should.
So what they're saying, Ellison, is that they believe that there was evidence that they were not able to show in the trial. They also believe that they can poke holes into Jane Doe, this woman, as to where she was that night, and including poke holes into other individuals who may have been there who could actually speak against her story. So it will be interesting to see if a new trial is granted. And it's also further complicated because of this looming trial that may or may not be happening here in New York in the fall. I mean, Harvey Weinstein, he's in Rikers. If it wasn't for this LA conviction, he would be walking a free man right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of Arthur Adelio when we were talking about his attorney to start. That's his New York legal team. But I remember after that conviction was overturned here, he specifically predicated that in his case and going to appeals court on this idea that the Molyneux rule, which only applies in New York State, was being violated. Basically, you can't bring up like bad acts that were not criminally charged for in a case so that the jury doesn't consider other alleged bad acts. They're only doing what they're charged with. I remember, though, when that happened, one of our legal experts saying, ooh, in L.A., they must be freaking out, the prosecutors there, because they talked about that New York case so much when they were getting this conviction. Are they connected?
So, different states, different laws, right? And obviously these are different crimes that he's being tried for. But I love that you brought up the Molyneux witnesses. I sat through almost every single day of Harvey Weinstein's New York criminal trial. And what they had were individuals take the stand and talk about all the bad things that Harvey Weinstein had allegedly done that did not have to do with the crimes that he was being tried for. And what the New York appellate court said in their ruling was that those Molyneux witnesses should not have been admissible. So, it will be interesting to see if he does get a new trial in New York. Could we see Molyneux witnesses again? It doesn't rule it out just because of that ruling. He was serving this 20-year sentence in New York. When he was ever going to be done with that, he was supposed to then be extradited to L.A. to have that 16-year sentence run concurrently. Now, all he has really is that 16-year sentence looming. So, in theory, according to Jennifer Bonjean, Harvey Weinstein's criminal defense attorney, if they don't retry him in New York, or if they retry him and he's found innocent, and he goes to L.A. and he starts serving that sentence, and it gets appealed, and he has a new trial in L.A., and they win, in theory, in a few years, maybe you could see Harvey Weinstein a free man, like we've seen Bill Cosby and others who've been accused of similar crimes.
Really interesting stuff. Chloe Malas, amazing reporting. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Turning overseas now, President Biden giving a major speech on the cliffs overlooking Normandy, evoking D-Day's heroes to urge Americans to defend democracy here. This as he seeks to draw a sharp contrast with Donald Trump. NBC's chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander is with the president.
Today, it's the beauty that overwhelms you, but 80 years ago, it was the bravery. Army Rangers defied danger, scaling these towering cliffs, knowing the Nazis were waiting.
One thought comes to mind. My God, how did they do it?
Atop one of the enemy bunkers those brave warriors captured, President Biden today invoked their memory, declaring a renewed mission for Americans.
They're not asking us to do their job. They're asking us to do our job, to protect freedom in our time, to defend democracy.
At the very spot where President Reagan immortalized the boys of Pointe du Hoc, President Biden today highlighted their service and the fight for freedom.
Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today? Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today?
Earlier, the president meeting Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, announcing a new military aid package and apologizing for Congress's delay in approving more American support.
I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding.
The president drawing an election year contrast with former President Trump, who's argued Europe, not the U.S., should be spending more to help Ukraine.
We're probably in for $250 billion. You know, they just got $62 billion, and now I heard today that they need more money. It's going to never end.
But today, the commander-in-chief warned against isolationism and saluted 98-year-old John Wardell, then an 18-year-old Army Ranger from New Jersey who battled Hitler's forces here. Today, alongside the dignitaries in the front row.
John, we love you, man. Thank you for all you've done.
What does this place represent?
Well, it's a place in history, part of history here.
You were part of that history.
Well, I like to think I am a little part of it.
A part of one of history's most pivotal moments, where America's sons helped reclaim the continent and save the world.
And Peter Alexander joins us now from Paris. Peter, what is next on President Biden's schedule?
Allison, the president's D-Day commemorations are now complete, but he is going to be welcomed here in Paris this weekend for a state visit that includes a parade down Paris's Grand Champs-Élysées, a state dinner tomorrow night. Among the two topics, he and the French President Emmanuel Macron are expected to discuss the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. And then before heading home on Sunday, the president will travel to an American cemetery where service members who gave their lives in World War I are buried. It's the same cemetery that former President Trump passed on going to due to bad weather in 2018. His chief of staff at the time, John Kelly, saying he referred to those Americans buried there as suckers and losers. Mr. Trump has disputed that claim. Allison, back to you.
Peter Alexander in Paris. Thank you. Next tonight to the Supreme Court, where Justice Clarence Thomas is disclosing for the first time the lavish trips paid for by a Republican mega donor he's faced backlash for. NBC News White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has more.
Tonight, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, for the first time, is officially disclosing a controversial 2019 trip to Bali with billionaire Harlan Crow. The acknowledgement out today in Thomas's annual financial disclosure report. It comes after a report last year from ProPublica that detailed his secret, lavish vacations paid for by the top Republican donor, who's a longtime friend of the justice. Thomas is also disclosing another trip that same year to California with Crow, though the report only includes lodging expenses, not travel costs. ProPublica reported Thomas had flown on Crow's private jet, a stark contrast to the more modest image the conservative justice has projected.
I prefer the Walmart parking lots to the beaches and things like that. There's something normal to me about it.
At the time, Thomas said the trips were a form of personal hospitality that justices did not have to report. Now, his disclosure report said the two trips had been inadvertently omitted from his 2019 report. As for his colleagues, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson reported receiving a $900,000 book advance, plus 4 concert tickets worth $3,700 from pop superstar Beyoncé. And Justice Sonia Sotomayor disclosed $86,000 in book royalties. The Supreme Court adopted a new code of conduct last year, although critics say there's no way to enforce it. Allison?
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. We turn now to the ongoing war in Gaza. Israel's military saying it fought off a group of Hamas fighters attempting a raid near the area of Karim Shalom, located on the Israel-Gaza border. The breach comes as Israel faces intensifying international criticism for its offensive in the region. Let's bring in Raf Sanchez, who's been following this closely from the very beginning and joins us now from Tel Aviv. Raf, what more can you tell us about this latest incident at the Israel-Gaza border?
So, Ellison, this happened down in southern Gaza in the early hours of the morning. The IDF says a group of at least 3 Hamas gunmen attempted to breach the Israel-Gaza border. Now, they were able to breach an initial security fence before, according to the IDF, they were engaged by a group of Israeli scouts. There was a gunfight. At least 1 Israeli soldier was killed in that exchange. And ultimately, these 3 or so Hamas gunmen were killed by a combination of Israeli drone fire and Israeli tank fire. The Israeli military is stressing they did not get through the border fence. They did not cross into Israel. But this is coming exactly 8 months after the October 7th attack. There is a lot of concern, especially among those Israeli civilian communities down in the south, that the border still may not be fully secure. Ellison.
And Raf, the UN, they have added Israel to this so-called blacklist of countries that the UN says fails to protect children. It comes after that deadly airstrike on an UNRWA school in Gaza. How is Israel responding to being put on that list? And as of right now, is the IDF still defending that strike on the school?
So, Ellison, there has been just an absolute eruption of anger from Israeli officials, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on down at Israel's inclusion in this list. This is a list that includes Russia, Syria. It has included terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda, like Boko Haram. And the Israeli government is saying the democratically elected government of Israel, the state of Israel, does not belong on this list. We were expecting it to be formally published next week. A UN diplomat says Hamas will also be on that list, but that is very little comfort to Israel at this point. Now, the Israeli government is standing behind that strike on a UN school yesterday. They say that they were targeting a group of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives who were hiding in 3 classrooms in that school. But it is clear now, according to hospital officials, that at least 14 children, around 9 women, were also killed in that strike. And a leading Israeli human rights group is saying even if Hamas, Islamic Jihad, were planning military operations out of that school, that would be a violation of the rules of war, but it would not justify a strike with a civilian toll like this. Elsa.
Raf Sanchez in Tel Aviv, thank you. Now to the latest in the trial of Hunter Biden on federal gun charges. His oldest daughter, Naomi Biden, testifying in her father's defense. The emotional testimony coming shortly after the prosecution rested its case. Ryan Nobles has the details.
Tonight, Hunter Biden fighting back tears as his eldest daughter, Naomi, testified in his defense, saying in August 2018 she considered her father to be on the road to recovery from his drug addiction. It was the clearest I'd seen him since my uncle died. He seemed really great, she said. It was 2 months before Hunter filled out that government background check to purchase a gun, checking no on the form that asked if he was an active drug user. Naomi testifying she introduced her dad to her future husband. I told him I was so proud of him, she said. But on cross-examination, prosecutor Leo Wise pressed Naomi about meeting her father a few days after he bought the gun, pointing to their text messages, showing the two were having a difficult time meeting up after she borrowed his truck, highlighting a text where Hunter asked her to meet him with the truck at 2 a.m. Naomi texting the following day, "I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't take this. I don't know what to say. I just miss you and want to hang out with you." Following her testimony, Naomi Biden gave her father a hug and kiss and quickly exited the courtroom. Earlier, the prosecution rested their case after calling 10 witnesses, many describing Hunter Biden's frequent drug use around the time he filled out that background check in October of 2018. Prosecutors say he lied about his drug use on the form, which is a federal crime. Hunter Biden's ex-wife testified she found drug paraphernalia inside their car in October of 2018. And his ex-girlfriend, who was dating him at the time, saying Hunter was smoking crack every 20 minutes or so.
And Ryan joins us now from Wilmington, Delaware. Ryan, talk to us about Naomi's testimony a little more. Did it seem like it helped the defense's case here?
Well, you certainly got the feeling during her direct examination that she was resonating with the jury as she tried to paint this picture of her father being in active recovery in the month of October. But much of the argument that she was trying to make fell apart during cross-examination. Prosecutors showing a long list of texts exchanged between her and her father during that period of time, is specifically an event where she was trying to meet up with him to switch out cars, and she was just having a difficult time getting a hold of him. He was texting her at 2 o'clock in the morning. She was begging him to try and find her because she wanted to spend time with him. It really undercut this message that he was getting his life together. And it's really an important point that the defense is trying to make because it gets to his state of mind during that period of time. They want the jury to believe that when he checked that box in 2018 in October, that he truly believed that he was not an addict. Because if the jury thinks otherwise, if they believe that he knew he was an addict, then he was lying on a federal form and he's guilty of what he's being charged of. Allison.
Ryan Nobles in Wilmington, Delaware. Thank you. Next tonight, to an update on a St. Louis couple charged for brandishing guns at protesters during a Black Lives Matter rally back in 2020. A Missouri judge wiping away the resulting charges for Mark McCloskey and his wife. Our Jesse Kirsch spoke with Mark about how he feels now that the record's been expunged.
Tonight, this gun-wielding couple's criminal convictions are being fully erased from public court records.
Well, it's nice to finally be in a situation where once again I can honestly say I've never been charged with anything. I've never been arrested for anything. I've never been convicted of anything, and I've never pled guilty to anything.
This week, a St. Louis judge expunged Patricia and Mark McCloskey's convictions almost 4 years after the couple clashed with Black Lives Matter demonstrators in a viral video that would become an enduring image of 2020's Summer of Unrest. Following George Floyd's murder, this group was protesting police brutality and St. Louis's Democratic mayor when they reached the McCloskeys' home. The couple walked outside brandishing this AR-15 style rifle and pistol.
They tore down my gate. They stormed my neighborhood. They were trespassers and they threatened my life and my wife's life.
A photojournalist at the protest told NBC News he did not witness anyone breaking into the neighborhood. The McCloskeys were charged, pleading guilty to misdemeanors months later, along the way finding a platform on the political right, even speaking at the 2020 Republican National Convention.
Make no mistake, no matter where you live, your family will not be safe in the radical Democrats' America.
Eventually, Missouri's Republican governor pardoned the couple, which means their crime went away. But now the related court records should be deleted.
Because of all the media attention. Because they've had so much media attention, what benefit do they actually get out of this expungement?
Anyone who's been involved in a high-profile arrest will find that the expungement may get rid of the court records. It doesn't get rid of the internet, and that can be a problem.
St. Louis city prosecutors and police have not responded to NBC's request for comment, but documents reviewed by NBC News show the city opposed the expungement petitions. Mia Doherty says she was one of the protesters staring down those guns.
When I got the notice or got the information that it was expunged after my tearful testimony of how it has affected me emotionally since that day, it was disheartening to have to relive it. It just says that, you know, I don't matter. The way that my life was affected, it doesn't matter.
And tonight, Mark McCloskey is again defending his and his wife's actions.
Every citizen not only has a right, but a duty to defend themselves and stand up for their own rights. Because if we don't, this government will not. And the only thing that I would have done differently if I'd had advance notice was I would not have let him breach the gate.
When the McCloskeys pleaded guilty, they were forced to turn in the AR-15 style rifle and the pistol seen in those viral images from 2020. Now, the couple wants those weapons back. Ellison.
Jesse Kirsch, thank you. Now to Money Talks, what consumers and investors need to know from the business world and beyond. And a better than expected jobs report released today. Non-farm payroll expanded by 272,000 for the month, up from 165,000 back in April, countering fears of a slowdown in the labor market. But at the same time, unemployment rising to 4%, the first time it's breached that level since January of 2022. To break down these numbers and more financial headlines, Brian Chung joins us now on set. So, Brian, the job numbers here are better than estimates, but unemployment is worse, right? Walk us through the numbers. What stood out to you?
Yeah, and unemployment did rise a little bit from 3.9% in April to 4%. But I want to emphasize that it has been at or below 4% for 30 straight months. To get a streak longer than that, you would have to rewind to the late 1960s. So this is still historically a very good jobs market and does fall in line with the top line number of 272,000 jobs added in the month being stronger than expected. Now, for the Federal Reserve, right, because we've been waiting for them to cut interest rates because that's going to give us relief on our car loans and our our mortgage rates. That's not happening yet because the Federal Reserve had expected the labor market to slow down by now. The next big milestone for the Fed is going to be an inflation report next Wednesday. If that comes in cooler than expected, maybe that gives them a little bit of pause to say, maybe we can cut interest rates soon, but that's not going to happen in their next meeting, which, by the way, is also on Wednesday.
Okay. Let's turn now to another financial headline that we've been following in this show. I personally am always invested and interested in this because meme stocks, it just sort of is, it's hard not to watch. It's a fun story. So Keith Gill, who some people may remember, we can show you him here in the corner there. That is the architect behind the meme stock craze that took place 3 years ago. He hosted his first live stream since then. GameStop stock sliding ahead of the live stream after the company's earlier announcement that sales had dropped significantly in the first quarter. Brian, talk to us about this moment. What is significant about his live stream? What is significant about the meme stock bounce up, I guess?
And just straight up, I mean, it's not really about what GameStop is doing. This is about hype. And Keith Gill, who is also known as Roaring Kitty, also known on the Reddit boards as Deep Expletive Value, he is someone who has really riled up a base of just average investors. This happened in 2021 when the same individual basically tried to drum up investment into GameStop, and he managed to get enough people to rally into the cry to substantially boost the stock. Now, he's trying to do that again. It's been many years since we heard from him. In May, when he just posted that he was back on Twitter again, the stock shot up like crazy. And then earlier this week, he said that he had a position in it, 5 million shares in the company. That got people excited again. He had a live stream today at noon, didn't really offer any sort of new position on that, so maybe investors were a little bit disappointed, and the stock fell about 40%. So pretty interesting there.
Okay, one thing Gill did say in that live stream, he cautioned viewers, if you will, against this type of high-risk trading. He said, and I think we can actually play some of it. Here's what he had to say.
My aggressive style investing is almost certainly not suitable for y'all, right? I'll always say that. Risks are severe. You can lose everything. What I do is not a recommend. You know that because I've said this all this time, you know?
Is he doing that because he did get called into Capitol Hill to testify?
He did have to testify on Capitol Hill, but I think a lot of questions over his investments here because, he put some money, 5 million shares into this position, but he also had what they call call options. This is the option to buy a stock at a price. So if it goes up, well, you could buy it at a cheaper price if you buy in those options. He had those options before he posted online. Is that insider trading? That's a very nebulous type of thing to try to prove in court, but that's why there's some trying to call for an investigation into, was this a little bit of funny money playing that he was doing here?
Fascinating stuff. Brian Chung, thank you. Still ahead tonight, a British TV doctor vanishing while on vacation in Greece. What we're learning about the moments leading up to his disappearance and the extensive search efforts now underway. And body cameras on retail workers. The new crackdown on shoplifters at TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and Marshalls. We're back now with the mysterious disappearance of a prominent British TV doctor, Michael Mosley, going missing in the Greek islands while on a trip with his wife. Local authorities sending in helicopters and drones to try and find him. NBC's international correspondent Matt Bradley has the latest on the search.
Tonight, the desperate search for a popular British TV doctor, Michael Mosley, who vanished in Greece while on a trip with his wife.
All the rescue teams of the island are looking to find him.
Police say Mosley's wife reported him missing after he went on a walk Wednesday afternoon, just one day after they checked in for a week-long stay on Simi, a small Greek isle off the coast of Turkey. Surveillance images showing one of his last known sightings, walking next to a shop in the village of Pedi. Emergency crews mobilizing helicopters, drones, and a search dog to find Mosley. Simi's mayor saying reinforcements have arrived from Athens and Rhodes to assist in the search.
The rate at which you lose weight has no impact on whether you regain it.
Dr. Mosley rising to fame as a presenter on the BBC. The documentarian and host of shows like Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, advocating for healthier lifestyles and becoming a vocal advocate of intermittent fasting. Now fears for the health of one of the most prominent TV doctors in the UK growing more and more by the day. Investigators are also looking into whether he may have fallen when he was walking home on Wednesday night, or even if he was bitten by a snake.
Back now with Top Stories news feed, and we begin with the arrest of correctional officials from maximum security prison in Wisconsin, from a maximum security prison. The prison's warden and 8 other staff members have been arrested and charged in connection with the deaths of 2 inmates at Waupin's Correctional Institution. They all face felony charges ranging from misconduct in public office to inmate abuse. The warden faces up to 4 years behind bars if convicted. Some beaches along the Florida Panhandle closed after back-to-back shark attacks. Officials say a woman suffered multiple shark bites while swimming at a beach near Destin. Officials say she lost part of her arm and was raced to the hospital. An hour later, a second attack was reported, this one hurting a teenager. No word yet on that person's condition. And back here at home, some retail store workers will now be wearing body cameras. TJX companies, including TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, announcing some of its employees will be wearing the cameras. They say it's an effort to crack down on shoplifting and keep customers and workers safe. It's unclear when this new policy will go into effect and which locations will be impacted. Back now with a bear alert in California. As the weather gets warmer, black bears have been seen getting dangerously close to humans, even entering homes across the Golden State. Now, for the first time in California, a black bear is connected to a person's death. NBC's Kathy Park has more.
Bears in California are getting too close for comfort, even interrupting this football practice in Truckee.
Hey, he's just gonna go across. It's all right.
The black bear is seen crossing the field as a crowd stayed out of its way. Sightings like this are becoming more common in the Golden State. California's Department of Fish and Wildlife reporting a 160% surge between 2021 and 2022, averaging 1,600 encounters. The hotspots around Lake Tahoe and the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains, where there's been a recent uptick in Sierra Madre.
This week, I saw them 3 times. And it was late at night.
Some bears are getting so bold, they're coming into homes and are reluctant to leave.
You're in my house. Get out of my house, Mr. Bear.
And sometimes they manage to leave behind a path of destruction in the search for food.
Only one at a time, guys. One at a time. You're gonna bust the fence. Don't break my fence. Don't break my fence.
It's getting so bad, last year the town declared the animals a threat to public safety.
Incredibly comfortable around people. They've been born here now at this point, so this is their neighborhood too, and they don't feel threatened by us, and we're a pretty reliable food source.
And an exclusive report by NBC affiliate KCRA revealed a deadly black bear attack last year in Downeyville, located roughly 2 hours outside Lake Tahoe.
Wildlife officials in Sierra County are on the lookout right now for a bear because that bear ate a woman after she had died.
State wildlife officials confirming that a bear killed 71-year-old Patrice Miller, the first ever confirmed death in the state from a black bear. The bear was euthanized, but the disturbing event has put the community on alert.
I don't want every black bear that steps foot into my community to be euthanized. Primary concern is public safety of my local citizens and my visitors, that come to our communities.
Wildlife experts say black bears typically avoid people, but here's what to do if you see one.
If you were to yell at them or clap your hand, they should be running away, going up a tree, things like that.
learning to coexist as these types of encounters become the new normal. Kathy Park, NBC News.
Next to all of the excitement on New York's Long Island ahead of Sunday's Cricket World Cup match. The U.S. pulling off a stunning upset of cricket powerhouse Pakistan in the tournament on Thursday. The game going into super over, a tie-breaking extra period. But the biggest matchup is this weekend, with crowds packing the stadium for India versus Pakistan, and more than 1 billion people expected to tune in. NBC New York's Paisy Sheng is there.
We got this. Go Canada! Go Canada!
Cricket fever in Nassau County.
We came here from Toronto, so
all the way from
we
Toronto,
came just
Canada.
for this. Very excited to see it. Yeah.
You know how expensive flights are? These fans made the trip from Canada to watch the Canada-Ireland match. This family from Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, rooting for Ireland.
He's been waiting all year for this, and our kids are so excited that the Cricket World Cup is in New York. So these are the biggest fans in Brooklyn. We are.
It could be a huge game here, like they did with soccer.
On the heels of Team U.S. beating Pakistan, the excitement has increased, with ticket sales also going up. The U.S. plays India here next week, but this Sunday is the blockbuster matchup of India versus Pakistan. Overall, the Cricket World Cup is bringing 100,000 people to Eisenhower Park this week, filling hotel rooms, dining rooms, and businesses.
It's been a great economic boom to the county and to the region.
Police can be seen in every direction with special teams in key places to ensure safety, especially in light of the ISIS threat shared online.
We've added extra resources for Sunday, right? The threat comes from ISIS-K out of Iran, and we are focused on what the information is. They're trying to stoke or stir up the lone wolf. That's always a concern of ours.
But most fans say they would not let this threat keep them away from a once-in-a-lifetime chance to watch their sport.
Absolutely not. We trust the fine folks of the New York police departments and stuff. They'll always look after us here, and I just don't know what's going to hit them if they ever try and come here.
I'm confident in the local security forces that they're going to do a good job, and if anyone want to create problems, they're going to have a hard time.
And tickets to Sunday's match between India and Pakistan are already selling for thousands of dollars on the aftermarket. So if you can't get tickets, there will be plenty of watch parties. More than 1 billion people are expected to tune in to watch this one match. On Long Island, Paisy Cheng.
Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Ellison Barber in New York for Tom Llamas. Stay right there. More news now is on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.